Hey, John Stamos and Cologuard here. So look, you're 45 or older and at average risk. You know what? That probably means it's time for colon cancer screening. Look, it doesn't start at 55 or 50 or even 46. If you're 45, you've got to prioritize getting screened because if it's found early, it's highly treatable. So get going. See if Cologuard is the right test for you.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi. Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And I'm Jake Novak filling in for Roger Stone here on the Roger Stone Show. And I think most people in America are still kind of scratching their heads over this most recent New York mayoral election. How did this go down? How did a 34-year-old with really no serious experience with serious socialism and basically communist avowed tendencies, wasn't hiding it, how did he get elected to mayor of the greatest city in the world? And we may have found out some of the answers to those questions last night. Joining us right now on the phone is Melissa DeRosa. She is a former official in the Andrew Cuomo administration when he was governor of New York. And Melissa, we've got basically we kind of had an aha moment in New York in the last 12 to 16 hours, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, good to talk with you, Jake. Last night, Curtis's appearance, palling around with Zoran Mamdani, I think had a lot of people continuing to say it's clear that something was going on between the two of them during the mayoral campaign, and that despite the fact that Curtis Sliwa ran on the Republican line with the blessing of, the Republican chairman and the county chairs, he was really throwing the election. He was only in the race in order to throw the election to Zoran Mamdani. And I think seeing the two of them pal around again last night felt like confirmation of that.
So I want to give a little more details. We're talking to Melissa DeRosa. She is a former member of the Cuomo administration, the gubernatorial administration of Andrew Cuomo. She's talking about an event last night that took place. It's called the Inner Circle Dinner. The best way to describe it, it's basically like the White House Correspondents' Dinner, but for the New York press, centering around the mayor.
I'd say it's a real poor man's White House Correspondents'
that's
Dinner.
True. Yeah, we don't get any. The big celebrities don't come. It's just the journals. A lot of local news people, and I used to be a local news guy, so I'm not denigrating that necessarily. But it is the hallmark of that evening are a bunch of comedy skits, and then the mayor gets to have a so-called rebuttal. And in this case, Mayor Mamdani had a number of pre-produced, and there was some live stuff on stage as well. I was there, including some taped sketches. And one of them, Curtis Sliwa, who was supposedly his opponent in the mayor's election, he was the Republican opponent. Of course, Andrew Cuomo ran as an independent, showed up in one of these pre-taped sketches. And I'll tell you something a little extra that maybe people hadn't noticed, but this was a real tip-off for me. It wasn't so much that he did a sketch. It was what he said in the sketch, because in this sketch, Sliwa looked to the camera and said, well, it has been my goal in life to kill off political dynasties in New York, of course, referring clearly to the Cuomo family. Mario Cuomo was a governor, his son Andrew a governor as well. So it seems to me like this was if people are wondering, what was his motivation? I guess he just really doesn't like the Cuomo family. And that was why he stayed in the race and colluded apparently with Zoran Mamdani. I mean, that was the tip off for me, Melissa.
No, absolutely. And I mean, look, we saw it during the campaign, right? Curtis Sliwa, who, by the way, only ended up getting just over 7% of the vote, running on the Republican line, which is maybe the most pathetic showing for a citywide candidate in the history of the Republican Party. But just to give your listeners a sense of what went down, during the campaign, there was sort of this all-hands-on-deck effort from moderates on the left and the right. You had people like Rodney Bachat, and you had David Patterson, Democrats on the left, and then you also had Mike Bloomberg, moderate, pro-business, former mayor himself, and then you had people like Ina Vernikov and other high-profile Republicans who were backing Andrew Cuomo because they believed that Zoran Mamdani was and is an existential threat to the people of New York City. He is a socialist. He is someone who doesn't believe in the rule of law, and he has stood alongside a lot of people who support Hamas and are highly anti-Semitic and has held very questionable views. And so people came across the city from all corners in order to join against Governor Cuomo to defeat Zoran Mamdani. And because Governor Cuomo obviously had the experience and had a whole slew of accomplishments that people were proud to stand behind. And nobody could quite understand what was going on with Curtis Sliwa, why Curtis Sliwa, after Eric Adams dropped out of the race, was intent on staying in the race. And a lot of legitimate questions were raised that still haven't been answered. Was his wife on the payroll? Were his buddies lining their pockets with the campaign cash? Was there some backroom deal between he and Zoran? And on the debate stage, when he should have been using his time, if he was a legitimate Republican, to be attacking the socialist who stands with anti-Semites on the debate stage, instead he was aligned with Zoran Mamdani, linked arms in attacking Andrew Cuomo. And so, look, when you look at the numbers, Zoran got just over 50%. Governor Cuomo got 41.5%. If he had gotten Curtis's share of the vote, which all of those people would have voted for him had Curtis dropped out, and you didn't have a situation where Curtis was spending all of his time attacking the former governor, I believe Andrew Cuomo would have been mayor of New York City.
Melissa DeRosa.
So last night, there were a lot of just very angry people to see what they saw.
Melissa DeRosa, a former official in the gubernatorial administration of Andrew Cuomo when he was governor of New York. And what I think the moral of this story is that election integrity and election fraud and election manipulation isn't just about illegal aliens voting, isn't just about questions about paper ballots. There are also ways to manipulate elections in other ways. This story with Curtis Sliwa now apparently having colluded with Mamdani the whole time reminds me very much of the old man, Joseph P. Kennedy, for those of you who know your history, when his son, John F. Kennedy, was running for his first election in 1946. It was a Democrat primary against a very popular Italian candidate. Joseph P. Kennedy got a guy with the same last name to join that race, the same Italian last name. They split the vote between them, and the rest is history. There's a lot of ways to mess with elections. I'm Jake Novak. I've been filling in with for Roger Stone on The Roger Stone Show. Have a great rest of your weekend.